Good. My name is Steve Jones. I am the owner of a balloon decorating company just outside of Seattle, Washington. It's called Balloon Designers. I'm also the executive producer of AeraDeco Video, which we produce a line of educational videos for balloon people. And I'm also the executive producer of Float Convention, which is a balloon decorator convention, which is actually 1 week from today. So if you're not doing anything next weekend and you want to come to St. Louis, I can cut you a deal. So we can talk about that. But beyond that, I've been asked today to come and do a little bit about being creative with balloons because how many people in here own like a retail outlet store, like a party store kind of thing? Okay. And okay, if you're doing a retail store, obviously you're working with balloons now, but how many of you that own the retail store go beyond just blowing up balloons and putting them on string? You do? Really? You do? I'm kidding. This is Tammy Corzine. She was actually the Float Designer of the Year in 2010, everybody. So. She's very good at what she does. So now I'm like really intimidated because, you know, like a superstar is in the audience with me here. Okay, so the bottom line is I think everybody would agree in this room that a trained monkey can blow up a balloon, right? If you can blow up a foil balloon, so can the big box stores. All right, and they can do it cheaper than you can because they can buy them at a lot better price. So the key is to create things that they can't necessarily do. And as a decorator, party stores, I've learned very quickly that party stores have a very clear advantage over professional decorators because, number one, you have the established foot traffic that's coming in. And secondly, you have the ability to sell what's called out-the-door decor. You have the ability to sell items that they can take with them. When someone calls me, I don't have a store. I don't have a retail location. So they can't come to me and say, hey, can I pick up these 6 bouquets? No, I need to bring them to you, so you're going to get charged X amount for that. As opposed to you guys, which have the advantage in that regard. The other side of it is you can see here, by this lovely example walking in the door, have the ability with balloons to create more unique elements. You have the ability to go beyond just blowing up a foil balloon that looks really cute and really cool because once again, if you can do it, anybody can do it. So what we're going to do today is a couple of very quick and very simple but yet still distinctive designs that you can do that will help increase your profit center a little bit because the cost on them is really pennies on the dollar and you can take home considerably more. Now, how many people here let's see here. How many people here have never worked with any kind of balloon whatsoever? Has everybody worked? You've never and you've never. Okay. Then I'm going to, okay, if it's just 2 people, we're going to kind of skip past the initial phase. But of course, if you need a little more instruction of what I'm talking about, by all means, I'm in booth 1607. You're welcome to come and I'll be happy to show you anything that we need to catch up on. And I only have about 25 minutes, so I got to keep moving. So what we're going to start with is we're going to make, since this is the Halloween Party Expo, we're going to make 2 themed pieces. One of them is going to be a floating spider. The other one is going to be a disembodied floating zombie head, so, which I hope that you will enjoy. So let me grab this real quick. So the spider is not something that I have to admit is incredibly creative. It's kind of done quite often. However, from the general public perspective, it is amazing the impact that we do. How many, you know, when we do trade shows, for example, if you've been to our booth yet, we have a Dr. Squish character. It's a life-size mad scientist character in the booth. And we have these electrodes and all this kind of stuff. But it's amazing because people will come up to the booth and go, oh my God, where'd you get those spiders? It's like, well, you know, it's amazing how impactful this design is over everything else. So what we're going to start out with is a very simple, and for the sake of argument, or sake of demonstration, all I have here is just a basic water weight because sand is really expensive to travel with, especially when your suitcase is at 49.9 pounds. So what we've done here is we've taken just a Qualitex 16-inch spring lilac balloon and an 11-inch Qualitex spring lilac balloon. Okay, you can do these in any color you want. Obviously, black is a really good color for a spider because of the whole realism kind of thing. But the bottom line is people tend to respond better, as you know, with different colors and what have you, and pastels. And this particular version of lilac is very popular at Halloween. So at this point, what you're going to do next is you're going to take 4 what are called 160 balloons. How many people here are familiar with twisting balloons or non-rounds? Good, okay, a percentage of you. Anybody in this room never seen a clown make an animal out of balloons? Everybody's seen that. Okay, perfect. What those are called non-rounds. Now, often cases they're 260s, 160s, 350s, depending on the size. This is a 160. It's also sometimes commonly known as a pencil balloon. because it's very long and thin. It's called a 160 because it's approximately 1 inch wide and approximately 60 inches long when fully inflated. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to take 4 of these and we're going to inflate them almost all the way. For the purposes of time, I went ahead and did these because I knew we had to keep moving. And I'm just going to very gently squeeze this balloon a little bit more to work some more of this air down. Now, let me give you a real quick tip. Many men are intimidated by the non-round balloons because they're afraid they're going to pop something. First of all, please remember these balloons are less than 5 cents a piece. If you pop it, you can get another one, okay? And I think everybody in this room can afford to buy a second balloon. All right. The other thing to keep in mind is the secret to working with non-rounds, and pay very close attention because this is where everybody freaks out. The secret to non-round balloons is that the uninflated portion of the balloon is where the air travels to when you make the twists. Okay? As you make a twist in each balloon, the air has to go somewhere. Either you need to make sure that you have enough room here, or you make sure that your balloon is squishy enough so that there's room to do it as you go along. Now the problem is whether or not it's squishy. That's a real term, by the way. How soft or squishy the balloon is. The problem that you run into there is that if it's too soft, then it won't stay in place. So there's a fine line between the friction element and everything else. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this particular balloon and we're going to kind of fold it in half, okay? At which point we're just going to make a twist right here. Now, this is not going to stay unless I hold it. If I let go of it, it will eventually work itself loose, okay? But what I'm going to do at this point is kind of hold it in one hand, fold it in half again, and make a mark here. Then I'm going to do something which is called a pinch twist. I'm going to make a small half-inch bubble like so. Can everyone see that? Small bubble like this. And then I'm just going to twist it upon itself so that when it's done, it's shaped like a little old lima bean, okay? Or as my grandmother used to call them, a little old butter bean. All right? And then we're going to repeat that process. As you see, we've moved down the balloon a little bit. We're going to repeat that about 2 or 3 inches from the bottom, okay? So we're going to make another bubble. We're going to make another basic pinch twist right here. And what we've done is we've created a leg for the spider. Okay? Now we're just going to repeat this process as we go around again. Sometimes you have to eyeball it a little bit and determine where to put the knee, the spider's, you know, the joint. Again, as you can see here, by starting in the middle of the balloon and not at the end where, you know, I'm not working in the direction of the tip, it's getting thicker and thicker, which means it's also getting more and more difficult to twist. So you just have to be careful when you do this and kind of feel through it, but you will learn very quickly where you can give and where you can't, okay? And you can also see here that my bubbles let itself go, but what's happened? Can you see the indent in the balloon? It's made a marking, so I know exactly where to go back to. The problem is you don't want to keep going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth because eventually you will wear a hole in that space and you'll pop it. Then what we're going to do is simply take this particular helium portion and just twist this in. Okay? It does not have to be, you know, anything more than that. Okay? Now you're starting to see where this is going to go. So we are going to repeat this process 3 more times with 3 more balloons. But because of the fact that I knew this was demonstration, and given the fact that I hadn't talked to anybody all morning, and then as I start to prepare for class, everyone and their uncle wants to talk about videos. So we're going to go here. So we make our separation, eyeballing where the knee goes. As you can see here, twist. Twist for another foot. Hi, you're late. Oh, you were out there? Oh, so she was afraid to come in, is what it was. Then she's like, oh, he's not doing anything impressive. I'm fine. Oh, is that what it is? Okay, she was in the front. She couldn't see because I'm blocking the view. Got it. Well, I'm trying to lose weight. Forgive me. So, all right. So we go down here. And as you can see, once you get used to this, it really does go pretty quick. I mean, you can, you know, do this. If you have a child slave labor force in your shop, you know, there's always one kid in the room that's very creative. This is the job for that kid. This will be just something where they can sit there and play and have fun. And so, and precision, okay, like for example, you can see here, because I'm going very quickly, I have one foot that's incredibly larger than the other. Is it important? Yeah, obviously from a design perspective it is. For demonstration, not so much. But again, is the average person going to know that that foot is bigger? No. So we have here, and we have one more to go. So we split. Now, you'll notice that the legs, when they start getting full in there, the legs are going to start going kind of everywhere. Again, whether or not you care is entirely up to you. If you want to be really, really precise and get it looking just perfect, you'll learn very quickly that as you move one leg, another one moves, and you do this and another one moves. So to some extent, be happy with the fact that it's just got 8 legs. But no, it's all good. You can make it work. So now see here in this case, it's fighting me a little bit because it's a little too soft for the space, so I had to redo the twist. So now you just take this out, add our last one in. Now the one thing you do want to be careful of though is as you start to get really full in here, there's a lot of friction building up between these balloons. And friction can be your friend and your foe at the same time, because friction is what keeps the balloons in place, but friction also tears holes in them. So you want to make sure that you're very gentle. So in that particular case, what I was actually doing is I'm feeling and I'm actually kind of pulling the balloons apart as I'm twisting the new one in. You just don't want to assume it can just rub right through because you'll end up popping stuff out. Now, right now we've got kind of a hot mess going with the legs, which isn't such a big deal. But the first thing I'm going to do, because I am a professional, is curl my ribbon. But in this case, I've actually made a mistake and lumped it through, so I'm just going to kind of clean it up a little bit here. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take the legs and just kind of twist them downward, because I don't know too many spiders that walk upside down. I mean, they do, but not, you know, off their head, so to speak. And then that's kind of it. I mean, you really don't need to do much more than that. And then, of course, now obviously I just have a basic water weight on here, like I said. You can dress this up any way you want. You can use the foil weights, which are readily available in your stores probably. Another little quick trip you can do is you can take 2 quads, take 2 5-inch rounds and put them together and actually hide the weight inside of that. That works really well. And I can demo that at the end for people that don't know what I'm talking about. Now, you know, to face or not to face. Tammy will attest to this because Tammy's been on a couple projects with me. I hate Sharpies. I love Sharpies in that they're great pens, they're great products, but I hate when people draw on the balloons per se. If you are going to sell decor, please don't draw on your balloons, unless you are really, really talented at drawing. Because the average person ends up drawing one eyeball too big or one too small or the smile off to the side or whatever. I think this works just fine. There are products on the market. Qualitex, for example, does have a couple of eyeball 5-inch balloons that would work very well for this. So if you wanted to add them on, you could very easily attach them on top. If you want to give it more of a comical type look, you can also go one step further and add 260s or 160s and make little fangs and coming off of it. We did the spiders in the lobbyway that you walked through when you first came in. And one of the people on my crew was like, why aren't we giving them teeth? Why aren't we giving them I like the static look. I just like that basic shape look more than anything else. For me, the moment you start adding that stuff, it becomes cartoony. This way it becomes a little more impactful, I think. But again, there's nothing wrong with cartoony, and you're about to see in the next piece I'm going to do, it's all about cartoony. Okay? So does everybody understand what we did? The only other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these nozzles off. Okay? This is just a personal preference. You don't have to do it, but frankly, it does make for a better, cleaner look. It's especially important if you're not that good at tying the balloons and you make a lot of neck to tie with. It's really important that you try to clean these up as best you can. So you go through here, and that's about there. So how'd we do? Is that worth a quick applause? Okay, thank you. All right. All right, so very simple. All right, this is a simple example. This is something that you, I mean, again, you could put one of your kids in the shop to and make that in 5 or 10 minutes tops. This next design is a little more complicated. How are we doing on time, by the way? What time is it? What is it? 11:10. This next one will take about 20 minutes, so that's fine. And we'll go from there. The trade-off, folks, when you really want to get creative with balloons, when you really want to be impactful, okay, your trade-off is time. These are going to take more time. This is not something that necessarily you want people to walk in the door and go, I want 15 spiders by 10 minutes. You're going to have to start training your customers to pre-order these types of things. How many of you deal with consultations at this time? I see like 2 hands, 3 hands. Okay, if you're really looking to get into this kind of stuff, event consultations are very important. So you really do want to consider starting to take the approach with your customers that, you know, certain items are going to require pre-ordering. So it might be one of those things where you actually set a time for them to come in during your dead time of the day and go over it with you and be just like, hey, you know, this one, blah, blah, blah. Or they just need to learn that they need to place those orders in advance, okay? All right, the next thing we're going to do is a little more complicated. I am from Seattle, Washington now, as I walk all through a bag. And I can't explain what it is. Maybe it's because, you know, supposedly Twilight took place an hour and a half from Seattle. Maybe it's because it rains all the time. I have no idea. But the city of Seattle is in love with the concept of the zombie. I can't explain it. Almost every weekend in the city of Seattle, you will find zombie walks where people are all getting together and putting costumes and staggering around town. And my better half actually got me involved this year in 3 words I never thought I would hear in the same sentence: zombie Christmas caroling. I was the videographer. I didn't do it, but it was kind of crazy. But as a tribute to her, I did something on my latest video, which is called a disembodied floating zombie head. So we're going to make one now. This is a Qualitex 16-inch lime green. And keep in mind, too, everything we've done at this point has been high floated. I high floated them at the booth. Is everyone here, who does not know what high float is? Anyone not know what high float is? Except the AV crew, which you don't have to know. They're all back there like, we know, we know. But see, if I make too many jokes at their expense, they cut me off. So I got to be careful. All right, this particular design, high float, we all know what it does. Everything that you do with helium should be high floated. However, keep in mind, everything we're also doing doesn't have to necessarily helium filled. And I'll explain that in just a minute where you don't have to do that. All right, we're going to start out. Actually, again, I have some of these components already made up. The one thing I want to introduce you to, if you're not already familiar with, is Elmer's rubber cement. I refer to this as nectar of the gods. I love working with rubber cement. There are other products on the market which have been developed specifically for the balloon industry, and they're wonderful products. They are also expensive. The good ones are really expensive. Rubber cement you can find at just about any office supply store, you know, Walgreens. I mean, just about every place you see office supplies has them. And they're, what, about $2 for the bottle? And they work incredibly. So what it is we're going to, and the advantage to rubber cement essentially is it's essentially the exact same thing as the balloon. They're both made of rubber. So what happens is as the balloons naturally shrink, the rubber cement will shrink with the balloons. Okay? A lot of people like to use cool glue guns, which are great. But a cool glue gun is based on a plastic concept. So when you put the plastic on the balloon and then you stick the balloon together, it works really well. But the problem is that plastic then becomes a very hard substance. And as the balloons shrink, the plastic doesn't give and they tear. So you end up losing life on the balloon. So with the rubber cement, it actually shrinks as you go down. Okay? So what we're going to do, we have a 5-inch lime green, which matches the other one. And as you can see here, it's got its nozzle still on it. So I'm actually going to cut that off at this point. And then we're going to take our rubber cement. Now, the one thing you have to be careful of when you're working with rubber cement is you do not want to goop it on. Okay? You absolutely don't. Rubber cement of all brands will eventually eat through the latex if you put on too much of it. And the reason I use Elmer's is because to be the least acidic of the bunch. It's the least likely to eat through the balloon. Now, with my luck, it's going to kill me today right in front of all of you, but haven't done it in a while. Now, I've wiped most of the rubber cement off into the bottle. And what I'm going to do is very lightly brush a spot on the balloon like so. Now I'm going to blow on it gently, which creates, I mean, it literally dries like half the glue at that point. It sticks better, latex to latex works better when it's tacky, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it by the neck, and then I'm going to figure out where I want the nose to be. I'm just going to stick it on, okay? It's really difficult. I went to school for 6 years to learn how to do this. You can do it today. Okay, so that's step number 1. That's the nose. Now, the key to the zombies' eyes is that zombies, you can do these things any way you want, but you know, they tend to be kind of bug-eyed and kind of like, you know, like that vacant kind of stare. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take 5-inch rounds and we're going to create what's called a tulip twist. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this balloon, we're going to inflate it, then we're going to deflate a good chunk of it. Okay, so it's down like so. We're going to tie it off very loose on the neck, or very high on the neck, excuse me. So we have a lot of leftover balloon. Can everyone see that? How it's all left over? And then what we're going to do, I want to get ready first before we get my stuff together here for this next step. It's just easier. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finger, push it into the nozzle, and take the neck, and I'm going to insert it so that I push it through the balloon. Okay? Then I'm going to take the top of the balloon, I'm going to take my fingers and pinch this section right off. So now I have the knot. I'm holding the knot that's been pushed through the balloon. I'm then going to twist it a couple times, and then I'm going to take what would normally be a scrap balloon, I just happen to use a new one now, and I'm going to wrap it around that knot several times so that it'll hold it in place for me. And then I'm going to gently tie it. You don't want to pull too hard on these because they will tear in your hand and they'll break. Not always, but you know, you are again putting friction on a rubber balloon. I'm going to cut off the excess. And that's not bad. They don't, again, these are zombies we're talking about. Precision is not that important, okay? They're not exactly known for their biological symmetry. They might very well have one arm or one leg or whatever, and so it doesn't make a difference. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take, once again, our 5-inch rounds here. And we are going to position them directly in the spot where the eyes would go. Okay. Again, it's not, with this particular design, it's not super important if they're not exactly next to each other. They can have all the personality you want them to have. At Christmas time, I get the whole zombie Seattle thing. My better half is a karaoke host by trade, and she did a party, and they did a Mayan apocalypse theme night, because the world was coming to an end. And of course, in Seattle, everybody assumed it had to be the zombie apocalypse. So we made this giant gingerbread man that was a zombie gingerbread man. So we had one eye like hanging off and everything. So you can be as creative as you want to be with this. Now, normally I would go ahead and make the eyeballs at this time, but I want to actually show you how we can kind of recycle a little bit here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 black 260s. Remember before we were working with 160s. These are 260s, which means they're approximately how wide? 2 inches, that's right, approximately. They're actually 1 3/4, but nobody's counting. So, all right, we're going to make about a 6-7 inch bubble, just depends on what you want to do, and twist these together like so. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and add one more. Admittedly, when you start to work with 6 in this particular design, it gets to be kind of a pain. So we're actually going to make a 5-star with this. Did everybody see that? Everybody over here, see this? And I've got the 6th one here. Okay. Remember earlier we did a pinch twist for the spiders joints? Same kind of deal. We're going to make a bubble, about a 1-inch bubble, like so. And then we're going to twist that off onto itself. And then we're just basically going to get rid of this. When it comes to working with non-rounds, you don't necessarily have to tie a knot. You twist them through numerous places in the bubble, and it will hold. Okay? Sometimes tying a knot is actually the worst thing you can do because of that whole friction thing we talked about. All right, now we have obviously 3 spokes that are about the same length, and we have 2 that are clearly longer. So at this stage, all we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and measure this off. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to work some of this air down here and cut this, and I'm going to save this for the pupils of one of my eyes. Because even though I can afford another 5-cent balloon, why waste 5 cents, right? Okay. So we're going to squeeze that down, tie that off, and go from there. And then we're going to repeat that process here. I've already got my other eyeball made, so I don't have to really worry about it. Okay, so now what I've done here is I've basically created a 5-balloon starfish. Okay? Like this. The pinch twist on top is essential at this point because what it does is it's keeping my star relatively flat. Okay? And it's creating a flat surface for me to attach it on top of his head. This is actually going to be his like Frankenstein-like zombie hair. So once again, I'm just going to spend a moment to clean up my knots. Anybody bored yet? It's okay. I'm not that interesting. Believe me, there's countless women that'll tell you that. All right, so let's see. We got... All right. Again, we blow gently. We kind of eyeball. We stick down. That's not bad. I miss a lot of times. It's like he's got this little cocky beret on the side of his head. Hey, what's up? But again, it's not, I mean, with this particular design, does it really matter? It's up to you. All right, so again, now we've got our pupil here. And we've got another pupil that I actually made with a 350, which is 3 inches round, or 3 inches wide and about 50 inches long. Because, once again, I kind of like the idea of the zombie, you know, like the weird eyes and the whole kind of spooky look. So, again, what we're going to do now is put some rubber cement on the tips where the knots are. And then the beautiful thing about that, remember the tulip twist we did before? There's a little dimple in each one of these eyes. That's a perfect spot for these to fit. Okay? Everybody see that all right? Okay. All right, he's getting there. He's not quite there yet. All right. Let's see here. We can give him his mouth, which is really complicated. It's really, oh, it's so hard. I hope you're paying really close attention. All I did was puff this balloon. This is a red 350, okay? And all I did was puff it. I just put enough air in it to give it some rigidity. I'm going to cut it really close to the neck once again. I'm going to take my rubber cement. Now, the only downside to gluing everything on the balloon like this is that eventually what you're going to notice is that it's going to start to lean to that side. These are fairly balanced pieces. So you can't put too much on there to where it's going to completely flop over. But what we're going to do now is take this, and I'm going to do this one-handed. I'm going to curl this particular piece into my hand to give him kind of a frown, and then stick it on like so. Okay? Here we go. Or should I go? Okay. Okay. So there's that. We'll give him eyebrows. What time are we doing? How are we doing on time? 25. Okay, I got enough time to finish him. All right. So we're gonna do a couple things really quickly to give him some more. Now, the dollars are in the details. Bottom line. Okay. This, to 90% of your clientele, this would be enough, and you could stop here, and that's fine. But did you see my pumpkin? I ain't stopping here. Come on now, we got stuff to do. So we're gonna give him some ears, and then we're going to show where he's been disembodied. Okay? What we've done here is we're gonna make, this is a lime green 260. It's about a 1-inch bubble. We're gonna make about a 3-inch or so fold twist, which is where you just kind of fold the balloon over, twist it together, and then I'm gonna gently slide this bubble into the hole, okay, that's created. Then I'm going to make about another 1-inch pinch twist right here, and that is that. Now in this case I am going to tie this off, but I'm going to do it gently, because remember I told you before when you twist, you kind of twist all through different spots? Well, there's only one spot here, and if I just wrap around the same spot, it can easily come undone, okay? So we're going to do that. So we have a cute little ear. So at this point, we're going to make another one, and we'll put it on. We'll put these on as we finish the piece. We'll do it all at one time. I mean, when you start getting practice at this, you can do this just as quickly. The zombie can be, I mean, this particular piece can easily be done without demonstration if you know what you're doing in about 10 minutes. And I can honestly tell you, for these types of pieces, you can sell them for considerably more than a balloon that you've blown up and tied on a string. Okay? All right. So we have that. We're going to do, I got to dig out my stuff. Where are they at? The very bottom. Okay. So we now have 5-inch lime green, which again, you would have thought I would have had out before this all started. I'm very scientific with my measurements. No, with certain elements of decor, you have to be, and you should be. There's no way you can make something like that with spiders out front if you're not precise in what you're trying to do. But for this, it's not that crucial. This is a 5-inch collar, a 5-inch quad, 4 lime green balloons, which you then take the neck, slide it right on, and twist it together. And that is the neck of our zombie. But I'm not going to leave it at that. Now it's time to get a little gross. We're actually going to tie this down a little lower to give it some length so we have something to tie with. At which point, we're going to make about a 2-inch bubble, a 1-inch bubble and pinch twist it, another 1-inch bubble and pinch twist it, another spacer bubble here, which is about a 1-inch bubble. We're going to repeat this one more time with 2 bubbles here and here. And then 1 more bubble right there, at which point I'm going to cut off and discard. But again, I'm going to leave this scrap for the time being, and I'll explain why in a minute. Then what I'm going to do here, I'm actually going to take this ribbon and tie it up into the neck because I don't necessarily want it out. I'm going to take this portion. Anybody figured out what I've made yet? Right. The remnants of his spine sticking out there, which is just so family friendly. I mean, let's face it, if you're going to do gore, family friendly and balloons is probably about as good as you're going to get. Okay, and then finally, one last little quick thing that you can do or not do. It's entirely up to your personal tastes. This was actually my better half's favorite part. Let's see if I can find them here. You take some rose color balloons, you take some red color balloons, you take some pale blue, and you create veins and tissue. And you just gently add them in to kind of create that effect. Again, you can't put too many in here because it'll start weighing it down like we talked about and it won't float right. Now, the reason we left this attached is this can actually make a really good anchor point for your ribbon. So if you want to make, you know what I mean, if you don't want this ribbon interfering up in here, you could actually cut it at this point and retie it here. And it makes a really cute point for the zombie head to float on. And then we're just going to add the ears real quick. And he's all finished. Now, let's talk about pricing. I can't tell you what to charge for this. I can't. Everybody's market is different. Everybody's costs are different. What I can tell you is not everyone is going to want to pay what you would charge for something like this. So what you do, and this is the key that people don't understand sometimes, the element that I'm putting on this zombie can be eliminated. Okay? So if a client, let's say, I don't know, $1,000. Okay? Let's say you're going to charge $1,000 for this guy. Because we know you're not going to charge $1,000 unless you just get the really good client. So you're going to, but they don't want to spend, they don't want to spend $1,000, they want to spend $750. Okay, well we can take the ears off. You see what I mean? Show them the dynamic piece first. Show them the high-end piece. Show them the finished product. Then tell them how much it costs. Get them hooked on it first. If they don't like it, or if they're like, oh God, that's kind of much. Okay, well we can eliminate this element and bring it down to this price. We can eliminate this element and bring it down to this price. And then what starts to happen is, oh no, I don't want it. It looks cute that way. Well, then guess what? Now you've just turned them right back around again. And now you've explained to them why they need to spend more money with you. Does that make sense? I still think he's cute. And I really felt like him a couple days ago, so it's fine. Having a really bad week. So really quickly, just a real quick plug. The spider design, both of these designs are actually on DVDs that we offer in the booth. So if you'd like to come visit us, we'd be happy to talk to you about them. And if you do want to come to St. Louis next week, I can cut you a really good deal. So thank you very much. My name is Steve Jones. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Okay, the question is, how much would I charge for this? Legally, I don't think I'm allowed to say. It's not that I don't want to say. It's just, I'm sorry? Somewhere between $1 and $100. They're recording me. I can't do this. I really can't. I can't. Yeah, it gets into whole price fixing elements and that kind of thing. You got to be careful with it. But I mean, let's break this down. Hold on. Let's break this down. Let's think about estimated cost of the piece. Okay, and then you can base it on that. Each one of these 5-inch balloons is roughly 6 or 7 cents a piece. And there's what, 4, 5, 6, 7 in them. You've got the 350s, which are about 5 to 6 cents a piece. And there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in there. So that's what, 50, 60 cents right there. So you have 60 cents. You've got another, you're about $1.20. I want to say these are about 35, 40 cents a piece, $1.60. Your other balloons, and then the scrap, the helium, which right now will kill you, but it's fine. Now, I mentioned earlier too, real quick, neither one of these have to be they could be air-filled also. How do you solve that problem? Instead of putting the spine on them, put a 350 on him. Inflate a white 350, inflate this with air, and make a pom-pom out of it. It's really morbid then. I do a lot of clown heads that way. Anybody here a professional clown? Good, let's talk about them. No, I'm kidding. But no, I always like, scare little kids and stuff with the clown. No, I'm kidding. But I end up scaring more adults with the clown head than I do kids. But yeah, you can easily put them on sticks. And keep in mind, this is something that I'm a very firm believer in. It's very interesting here in the commentary between the pumpkin and the spider. It seems like everybody loves the spiders more than the pumpkin. Why do you think that is? Movement, maybe. The spider is more interactive. That's exactly right. That's the key. People get to actually walk through the legs. They get to experience it. This is a passive piece. This sits there. It's cool, but it sits there. Yes, I think it's cool, but it sits there. The spider, you actually are part of the scene. And that's the difference. So in other words, this is a passive piece. It's funny. It's clever. People will identify with it. It might stick in their head for a very long time that I've never had anything like this. But it's different than when you physically put it in their hand. And it's amazing the impact that these have on people. Because why? You're taking them into the experience of the balloon. That is where the value is in balloons. Repeat after me. That is where the value is in balloons. Creating the impact, creating the memory, making the connection, physically getting them to do that besides look at it and go, oh. Thank you very much.